Hello and welcome. It's 8 a.m. by the clock. It's time for the Breakfast Club. I'm Sonal Mehrotra Kapoor, and the excitement around the Paris Games is just building up. India's got its first hit. We'll bring you that and much more on the program today.
I'm Toya Singh joining you from New Delhi. Let's take a look at what that much more looks like on the show. What are the other stories?
Paris Games 2024. Manu wins a bronze in the 10-meter air pistol. Manu Bhaker opens India's account in Paris. Shines as first Indian woman shooter to win the medal so far.
And as we see rain battering down on cities across the country, you have Kerala, Hyderabad and Mumbai in particular that are battling different kinds of viral outbreaks. Why are we seeing this and what you can do to prevent it and keep yourself safe? We have the breakdown.
Atika Mir triumphs as the first female winner at the Muscat 9-year-old racing project from Kashmir. We'll tell you all about her go-karting dreams and how she's a first in many cases.
Let's start the show this Monday with some absolutely dazzling news that we have coming in for you from Paris. As we told you just a second ago, Manu Bhaker has clinched the bronze medal at the 10-meter air pistol event on Sunday. She's become the first Indian woman shooter ever to claim an Olympic medal. Now, she's also opened the country's medal account at the Paris Games, which is why we're seeing so much excitement. She's also ended India's 12-year-long drought for a shooting medal. It's been 12 years since our country's contingent last won a medal of any kind in this category.
And it's been a long journey as well for the 22-year-old who has talked about how she returned disappointed, dejected and a bit sort of disenchanted with the sport after the Tokyo Games. Now, where she failed to make a mark. She didn't even look at her pistol for nearly 25 days, she says, and she's been open about her journey to get back on track, which started with reuniting with her very straight-talking coach, Jaspal Rana. And about 1,099 days after the Tokyo heartbreak, she reversed the nation's fortunes, fighting to get the score of 221.7, just behind Korea's candidate.
So we're of course here saluting our young woman. She's from Haryana. And this medal, because this medal is a testament to her sheer grit, of course, but also her openness around the mental health discussion. She's talked about it multiple times, the mental strength she's shown herself in the last few days. It's obviously a shot in the arm for India's contingent, but also for the entire nation. An incredible start to our week. Let's take a look at how she responded.
Honestly, the entire finals I was nervous in the entire finals. However, I knew that I had to hold myself together and I have to not try to do something that I don't do generally. So just go with the flow and just try your best and leave everything on the destiny, God and whatever the outcome is. So I took it like that. And yes, nervousness almost every match we have. But the strongest is who wins. So many people from India, not only from India, like the people, Indians living in France, living in nearby areas also came to support for me, to support for India. And that really means a lot to me and I'm so thankful.
And of course, congratulations are pouring in. We obviously are congratulating Manu, but what did the Prime Minister have to say? The Prime Minister dialed her. Let's take a look.
नमस्ते, खूब अभिनंदन, आपको बहुत बहुत बधाई।
बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया सर, आप कैसे हैं?
मैं बहुत बढ़िया से। आप तो ये तुम्हारी सफलता का खबर सुनने के बाद और उत्साह और आनंद में हूँ।
जी, अच्छा कर रहे हैं हमारे खिलाड़ी यहाँ पे अभी।
आप स्वयं को वैसे .1 से आप सिल्वर आपका रह गया,
जी।
लेकिन उसके बावजूद भी आपने देश का नाम रोशन किया। आपको 2 प्रकार की क्रेडिट मिल रही है। एक तो आप कहाँ से पदक लाई, लेकिन भारत की पहली महिला है जो इस खेल में मेडल लेके आई हो।
जी सर, हाँ जी, शुक्रिया सर।
मेरी तरफ से बहुत बहुत बधाई है। देखिए, टोक्यो ओलंपिक्स में राइफल ने तेरे साथ दगा कर दिया,
हाँ जी,
लेकिन इस बार तुमने सारी कमियों को पूरा कर दिया।
बिल्कुल सर। अभी और भी मैचेस हैं आगे, तो उनमें भी उम्मीद रहेगी कि अच्छा करूँ मैं।
मुझे पक्का विश्वास है आगे की मैचेस भी बहुत अच्छा करोगी आप, क्योंकि ये ट्रेनिंग इतना अच्छा है, उसके कारण तुम्हारा उत्साह भी बढ़ेगा, आत्मविश्वास भी बढ़ेगा।
जी सर,
देश
बिल्कुल
को भी उसका लाभ होगा।
बिल्कुल सर।
बाकी सब साथी एकदम प्रसन्न है, व्यवस्थाएं ठीक है सर वहाँ?
सब बहुत खुश हैं सर, और अभी नमस्ते भी कह रहे हैं आपको।
हाँ। हमने भी कोशिश की है कि वहाँ जितना ज्यादा सुविधाएं मिले सब हमारे खिलाड़ियों को, खेल की दृष्टि से जो कंफर्ट चाहिए सब देने का प्रयास तो किया है।
अच्छा सर, अभी तो सब कुछ है हमारे पास, तो सारे प्रयास सफल रहे आपके, मुझे लगता है सब इजी है।
आप लोगों की मेहनत रंग लाने वाली है।
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल।
हाँ जी। चलिए, तो घर पे बात हुई है रामकृष्ण जी से?
अभी तो नहीं हुई सर, शाम को घर जाके करूँगी, जब रूम पे जाएंगे तब बात होगी घर पे। हाँ जी।
क्योंकि हमारे पापा को बहुत खुशी होगी, क्योंकि उन्होंने तुम्हें बहुत प्रोत्साहित किया है।
बिल्कुल, माँ भी और पिताजी भी और भाई भी।
जी
जी,
चलिए, मेरी तरफ से बहुत बहुत आशीर्वाद है।
बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया सर।
थैंक यू।
Bhaker has been sharpening her shooting ability since she was 13, 14, and congratulations continue to pour in. This is the International Olympic Committee member Neeta Ambani extending her heartfelt congratulations on the bronze medal win. We'll just tell you what she said.
In fact, she said, and I quote, what an incredible moment. Our youngest woman shooter has opened India's tally at the Paris Games with a bronze. Congratulations, she said, to Manu Bhaker as the first Indian woman to win in the 10-meter air pistol at the Olympics and our youngest Indian shooter to do so. You have made history. She goes on to say, I'm sure your success today will inspire young athletes across India to dream big and give it their all. Keep the Indian flag flying high. Go India, go, she says. Make us all proud. All right, and keeping up with all that action for today's events as well at the Paris Games, including a full detail on what all is coming up, we thought we'll give you a roundup, also tell you what timings to actually watch out for. Also, our colleague Sanjay Suri is there, making us all jealous, catching up all the action live. This is what he found.
Day 3 coming up at the Paris Olympics here, and India will be aiming for more success in shooting after that first Olympic medal for Manu Bhaker. Ramila Jandal will be playing in the women's 10-meter air rifle event, and Arjun Singh Babuta has a fair chance in the men's 10-meter air rifle event. These are the finals, so a potential medal day for India that we are all waiting for and hoping for. But lots more qualification shooting also on Monday in the men's trap event and the air pistol mixed team qualification, where Manu Bhaker will be back with Sarabjot Singh. And in the Kazarli archery, the men's team stands a good chance of winning the quarter-final to set up a medal for later. The badminton players have been off to an excellent start, and now we have Lakshya Sen continuing after winning his first match, and then the Satwik and Chirag team looking to build on their earlier success. The women's doubles team will look to get back in after losing their first match, and certainly one to look out for will be the hockey, where India plays Argentina. India beat New Zealand earlier, so off to a winning start. Argentina will be a tough one now. India will have the advantage as always of a near home crowd. Tickets for India's hockey matches have been bought off substantially by Indians here, and absolutely raucous support as always for Indian players from Indian fans right here in Paris.
All right, so that's the tally over there. India at number 22, but we'll be tracking these developments every day to try and see how we hopefully move up that ladder. At the moment, USA leading the charts.
Right. In our contingent, athletics, shooting, these are the biggest representatives. But let's talk a little bit now about cricket for a second. Indian cricket legend, former head coach Rahul Dravid, gracing the inaugural India House as a part of a panel discussion on cricket's inclusion at the Paris Olympics. Remember, that's a huge change on Sunday. Now, we'll talk a little bit more about that, what he had to say, but he made the wish that cricket should also be included in the list of Olympics. Just take a look at this. This is my colleague Sanjay Suri, our colleague, reporting from Paris once again. Take a look.
The 2024 Paris Olympics have just begun and the buzz has started already around the inclusion of that new sport in the 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles. Cricket, what else? Rahul Dravid joined the build-up towards that at an event here at India House in Paris.
Conversations in the dressing room. I mean, certainly in the dressing room, as people are talking, obviously you're talking about, there's the 2026 World Cup and, there's a T20 World Cup in 2026, there's a 50-over World Cup in 2027, and then you hear people saying, hey, there's the Olympics in 2028. And, so you're already hearing those kind of conversations, young people. I think teams are going to start building towards that, developing towards that, because there's no doubt about it. I think once you get to that event, it's going to be huge. People are going to want to win that gold medal.
There will be logistical challenges, of course, over cricket being played on the west coast of the US with audiences mostly in India, but really nothing stands between cricket and cricket fans.
I don't think starting at 10:30 to me honestly was a problem. I mean, we are in the entertainment business. We are in a business which has got to cater to the people who want to watch the sport.
Not the least in this new excitement is the rising involvement and interest in women's cricket.
I think women's cricket is already going forward. I don't really think it needs anything else. I think it's just fantastic to have both the men's and women's events now. It's probably like Jeff said. I think it's separated it at the ICC level, so the men and the women don't play together. But again, at the Olympics, I think it will be fantastic to have both the men and the women's event going on concurrently and at the same time as well.
All right, so that would be interesting, no? Cricket getting an Olympic tag and a race there, that would be quite exciting. But talking about Paris Games, talk about inspiration, and Simone Biles' name cannot be missed. Called the greatest gymnast to date, the same Simone Biles, you'll remember, who had a breakdown at the Olympics just 2 years ago and had brought the attention of the world on the mental health and what pressures of carrying massive expectations can really look like. Now, USA Simone is now back at the Games after her 2-year mental health break, only to break her own record and drive her country to the top of the tally yet again.
So let's just talk a little bit about what we saw out of her yesterday. Now, remember, she's one of the oldest gymnasts who's over there. She rose above ankle and calf niggles. There was pain there that she was talking about again and again. But once again, she stole the show in gymnastics. And mind you, she had an audience full of celebrities who'd actually flown down to see her perform. Simone limped at one point even after a dodgy landing during the all-around team championship qualifications. Then she crawled towards her teammates on her hands and knees till she found strength again inside, even though remember we're telling you she had a niggling ankle and calf the entire time. They talk about the glamour, the grandeur of all of these superhuman feats, but to get to see Simone do this again and again is, of course, really, really inspiring to watch.
All right, moving on now. As we embrace for the monsoon season, while rains bring much needed relief and rejuvenation, they also come with their own set of health challenges. So today on TBC, we'll be focusing on how to stay safe and protect yourself during this season of increased viral infections. You must have heard the headlines by now of different viruses outbreaks in different cities. There is H1N1 in Mumbai. There is Nipah virus in Kerala, norovirus in Hyderabad.
Right, and the thing with these viruses is they're often confused with the seasonal flu. So most of them will start in a very, very similar way inside your body. But if we've learnt anything in the last few years, it's don't take viruses lightly, right? Each virus is distinct. It needs a specific treatment. So we thought on TVC this morning, we'd help you figure out the different kinds of symptoms to different monsoon viruses and the respective treatments that you need to engage in. What are the preventative vaccinations that you can even take to prevent them altogether?
So we picked up the 3 most sort of infamously spreading viruses in the country right now. We'll start with the Nipah virus. It has taken away the life of a 14-year-old, remember, in Kerala. In addition, some 60 people have been identified as being high risk as well in this category of having the disease. And the boy who actually got it and unfortunately died, his entire village and everybody who got in touch with him have been isolated. People in the area again have been asked to wear their masks, avoid meeting, avoid going to the hospital altogether. But what is Nipah really and what makes it so lethal? Well, the virus is an infection in a zoonotic illness, meaning it's transmitted from animals like pigs and bats to humans. The WHO is also described this as a priority pathogen because this has a potential trigger of an epidemic. The question is, how should you know that you have Nipah? Number 1, symptoms, let's talk about that. It's fever, it's headache, it's muscle pain, vomiting and even a sore throat. If it becomes extreme, it can go into dizziness or drowsiness. It can go to an encephalitis sort of a situation when there is inflation in the brain. And of course, there are seizures as well. But the treatment here is that there are no drugs or vaccines to cure Nipah infection. Intensive support care, only symptomatic one can be given. So it's absolutely critical that you nip it in the bud, sort of go to your doctor right at the onset if you're feeling something.
Okay, let's take you now from Nipah, which, as we said, we're seeing cases of in Kerala, to Hyderabad. Hyderabad is currently experiencing an outbreak of the norovirus. It's obviously often referred to as the stomach bug, and that's where the confusion sets in. Now, it spreads through contaminated food, water, surfaces like that. What are the symptoms that you can see? You'll often see diarrhea, you'll see vomiting, you might have stomach pain or cramps. And again, when it comes to treatment, there is no specific treatment of the norovirus, but you do have different vaccinations that you can find at different phases. So at phase 2, there's a particular kind of vaccination that you can get from the Serum Institute of China. You also have quadrivalent vaccines that you can get. These you can get from the N18L Biological Pharmacy. And there are other options too. So there's even a monovalent option that you can try to get. At phase 3, you can also try to get a different kind of vaccination. So there are different ways to meet this, as we said, at different phases.
Right. Number 3 on the list that we've picked out for you today is H1N1. Something that Mumbai is really facing and how. It's an outbreak that people are talking about. It's H1N1, influenza cases known as swine flu as well. There is an uptake in these cases and it is spreading through respiratory droplets and affects the respiratory system as well. What are the symptoms you should watch out for? If you have sudden onset of fever, very high fever in most cases. If you have cough, which is generally dry. If you have headaches, muscle and body pain, and you feel severely unwell, not being able to get out of your bed, that is H1N1, not your regular flu. The treatment again for this is not really available. You're supposed to stay at home. It's infectious, so ensure that others do not get it. There is, however, a medicine that comes in that can be given in the first 48 hours of the disease. If you take it, then it's said that the effect of it will be much less. Tamiflu and the rest can be tried out. Apart from that, vaccination also is recommended, but this one is of the kinds that you have to routinely get every flu season, which could actually prevent you through a particular kind of viruses in a particular spectrum, but you have to take it every monsoon season. Of course, those who are pregnant, younger kids, older people are advised to take it even more, those with chronic diseases as well. But those are some of the basics really that you need to know about these 3 viruses and viruses in general that hit us every monsoon. But what should you do about it? Well, we've given you all the research, but let's talk to a doctor now. Dr. Pinto is with us, consultant pulmonologist and epidemiologist from Hinduja Hospital. Good morning, Doc. Thank you so much for speaking with us. I want to understand first from you. We look at so many of these viruses. We picked out 3. There are about 2 more, that are really doing the rounds. But the basic question that comes to mind is, if you are feeling a little niggle, if you see the common symptoms for all these viruses, it's been headache, it's been congestion, and it's been fever. If you're feeling any of it, how do you tell whether it's a regular flu or this could be something more?
I think a recurring theme which we saw even during COVID and for most of these viruses is at the end of the day, it's a reflection of your own immunity, which decides which direction you head. So if you are immunocompromised in any way, if you are somebody with diabetes, for example, and your sugars have not been well controlled, if you have cardiovascular disease, if you have lung diseases like asthma, then you definitely don't ignore these symptoms even at an early stage. You try and get swabbed as soon as possible, and therefore treatment can be instituted quickly. Now, if you are absolutely healthy, you're a younger individual, you have a fever, you have a sore throat, you have a little bit of a cough, I think it would be a little panicky to suggest that everybody immediately gets tested, everybody goes all out. So I think it's a reflection of not just the virus, but also your own immunity, your own status, and that's where you take the call.
Dr. Pinto, tell us, beyond the usual that we hear from everyone, the hygiene practices that you need to do. So, for example, making sure you're washing your hands, the very basics. What can we tell our audiences to do to keep themselves safe? Because this is something you hear about every monsoon, right?
I think more than protecting yourself from others, I think it's equally important to tell individuals that if they have symptoms, to try not to transmit it to others. I think that's one place where we tend to lack. If you look at a lot of other countries, when a person falls ill, they immediately mask up. They immediately try to isolate, not go to work, not go to school. I think that's primarily important in terms of your civic sense, to try and make sure that you don't transmit it to others. Now, for individuals trying to prevent getting infected themselves, the usual, try avoid crowded places, try avoid closed surroundings with inadequate ventilation. Mask up when you can, especially if you know that there is an epidemic going around in the city. And of course, the usual hand washing and sanitizing as much as possible.
Right. Dr. Pinto, a lot has been talked about the influenza vaccine that now a lot of doctors prescribe on a seasonal basis. It's said to cover a host of viruses. What is your recommendation? Who should get it and when?
So we definitely recommend it for individuals who are older, so 50 and above, maybe individuals who have immunocompromising conditions. So as a respiratory physician, for example, all my patients with asthma, with COPD, with chronic lung diseases are strongly advised to take it. Unlike the West, where the recommendation is to take it just before the winter, in India, we recommend it before the monsoon because, again, influenza tends to peak in the monsoons in India. We also recommend the Southern Hemisphere strain because a lot of the viral strains seen in India tend to be of the Southern Hemisphere rather than the Northern Hemisphere. And this vaccination typically is advised at the end of May or the first week of June. So again, as a broad statement, if you have immunocompromising conditions such as diabetes, cardiovascular disease, or respiratory conditions, I would strongly advise you to go ahead and take the vaccine annually.
Doctor, every monsoon in families across the country, you have almost superstitious practices that we'll have, right? So typically you'll stay away from eating sometimes salads, vegetables. You'll encourage people around you not to go swimming, especially in lakes or ponds. You also sometimes have families that will say don't eat fish. I just want to ask you, doctor, for kids, if you are a parent, what are the practices that one should actually practice that even you would advise in families to keep yourself healthy in this weather?
I think one needs to be cautious about eating raw foods, especially in the monsoon, because we know the food chain doesn't tend to be very sterile, doesn't tend to be very hygienic sometimes, and stomach bugs are very common in the monsoon. So it's not bad advice to stay away from raw food as much as possible. Children, unfortunately, by virtue of going to school, staying in an environment where so many kids come together, will catch a few bugs here and there. And I think one doesn't need to go overboard. But of course, if your child is lethargic, if your child is not playing, not consuming enough to hydrate themselves, you should see a pediatrician. So very often it's not the virus that causes the problem in the kids, but it's the lack of nourishment, the dehydration that happens as a result of the fever that can cause serious issues. So if you find your child not behaving in a normal way as they normally do, they're not playful, I think reaching out to a pediatrician is extremely important. Of course, encourage your children to wash their hands with soap and water as much as possible. Encourage your children not to touch surfaces when they go out and play in parks, etc., to try and be as careful as possible. But it's always going to be challenging with kids. Kids will play, kids will do things that are not necessarily in their best interest, but they have to play at the end of the day.
Yeah, I was just going to say good luck trying that with toddlers. I have one around and I can tell you, handful, just not possible to do it sometimes. Which brings me to the next question on prevention, Dr. Pinto. Enough and more has been spoken of late about taking multivitamins to sort of up your immunity, especially with changing seasons, especially in the monsoon. Do you recommend it?
So I don't think there is any scientific evidence to suggest that any vitamins really help when it comes to preventing viral infections. I mean, vitamin C has been spoken about for years and years and decades together, but there have been studies which have looked at its utility, and it doesn't really seem to benefit as much. So while as a broad statement, if you are deficient in certain vitamins, if you're deficient in vitamin D, if you're deficient in B12, it's not a bad idea to replenish. But as a broad statement, subjecting everybody to vitamins with the hope that it will prevent viral infections is not really science-based.
Okay, and doctor, if we could ask you, we've focused on these 3 viruses as we started, but I would be remiss to not touch on dengue and malaria for a second in this weather. Just tell us, doctor, with dengue in particular, it's a fever. And it's often hard to tell, is this a fever that I'm getting that's a regular fever? Could this potentially be dengue? Because the symptoms, again, like we were talking about in the beginning, are very similar. So what do you advise to people who are looking out?
So again, as a broad statement, if you are someone who is healthy and is having a fever, typically I would say wait for 24 to 48 hours. If it spontaneously starts getting better, if you spontaneously start recovering, the maximum temperature that you reach gradually starts coming down by itself, then maybe you can just wait and watch. But if it's 48 hours, you're still getting high-grade fever, there are chills, you're feeling unwell, you're feeling extremely drained, you're potentially getting dehydrated and lightheaded, for example, that's when you would definitely approach a doctor. And something like dengue, it needs blood tests, so you would need to look at whether platelets are dropping, you would need to look at whether your tests come positive for dengue, and I think roughly 48 hours would be the cutoff at which you start getting concerned and get investigated.
Right. Dr. Pinto, I also had a larger question on our interaction with viruses. Now, if COVID has taught us anything, it is that they're going to be around for a while and we'll have new challenges sort of come up year after year, if not, outbreaks that will keep happening. Is there any advice that you have for people on how to sort of approach viral diseases as, on the whole? We understand that hydrating yourself is extremely important, but overall, to be able to fight these viruses better, do you have any top 3 recommendations?
So as a broad statement, again, a lot of these viruses are spillover viruses. They spill over from the animal kingdom to humans. A lot of that is happening because of deforestation, because we are intruding into animal territory and therefore causing the spillover of these viruses. So as human beings on the whole, I think we need to start rethinking how aggressive we are about deforestation and entering territories which are not really ours, and therefore respecting those boundaries. When it comes to individuals themselves, I think at the end of the day, everything is a function of the host versus the virus, right? So it's your own immunity fighting a virus which also wants to survive. I think keeping your immunity intact and keeping your immunity as boosted as possible would be the broad advice to individuals. And that's, making sure that your comorbidities are well controlled, making sure that one exercises and stays physically active on a regular basis, making sure that you take the vaccines that you're eligible for and you should be taking, and just sensible nutrition and health practices which keeps all your comorbidities under control and therefore makes you less vulnerable to the effects of these viruses. At the end of the day, it's the fight between the virus and the human. And I think the human can only win if their immunity is intact and in place. Right.
All right, Dr. Pinto, thank you so much for joining us. the day when doctors start talking about deforestation and climate, that's when we really need to sit up and take note. And I think that's my takeaway from this entire conversation as well. Thank you so much for joining us.
Okay, we're going to head into a quick break. On the other side, we're changing pace. We're getting you a special guest, a racing sensation who's just 9 years old. This Kashmiri star and all that she's bringing to the tracks. We'll have this in just a few minutes.
माई भाई मैंने भी इस बार एसआईपी करके म्यूचुअल फंड में पैसे डाले। तो मुझे ये जानना था कि केवाईसी का चक्कर क्या है।
म्यूचुअल फंड सही है .com या अपने म्यूचुअल फंड की वेबसाइट पे जाओ, पैन नंबर डालो और सिर्फ इतना देखो कि तुम्हारा केवाईसी स्टेटस रजिस्टर्ड है या वैलिडेटेड।
रजिस्टर्ड हो तो
आधार और पैन कार्ड के साथ अपना केवाईसी वैलिडेट करो, जरूरी है और ज्यादा वक्त भी नहीं लगता।
और वैलिडेटेड हो तो
सही है।
सही है माई भाई, अब तक इन्वेस्ट किया ना हो तो
केवाईसी कर लो और मैदान में उतरो।
सही है।
म्यूचुअल फंड निवेश बाजार जोखिमों के अधीन है। योजना से जुड़े सभी दस्तावेजों को ध्यान से पढ़ें।
Hello and a very warm welcome. Thanks for tuning into CNN News 18. I'm Kritsween Walia. In this edition of news, we start with some excellent news coming in from Paris. Yes, we're talking about Olympics 2024 and great news for India as Manu Bhaker has won bronze for the country. This is the latest bit of breaking news update coming in. Manu Bhaker is all set to bring back home a bronze medal after a sensational performance in the finals. Remember, she was qualified to the medals round today and just a few seconds ago, she's managed to clinch a bronze for the country. The big breaking news coming in at the moment from Paris Olympics 2024. Manu Bhaker showcasing her skills, her temperament and shooting well enough to now clinch a bronze medal at the Paris 2024 Olympics. A high pressure situation there for Manu Bhaker, but an experienced player really. She's just 22 years old and this, remember, is her second Olympic experience. Remember, she did participate in Tokyo 2020 as well. Unfortunately, she could not make it to the medal round given some sort of a problem in her pistol in the qualification round. But Manu Bhaker made it to the medal round and now is bringing back a bronze. So Manu Bhaker winning a bronze this Olympic 2024 in a high pressure situation with a loud cheer from the Indian audiences. Now remember, she's personally watched by Jaspal Rana, who's her personal coach. There were several other anxious fans as well who were there to applaud Manu. Excellent news coming in for the Indian contingent from Olympics 2024. In fact, my colleague Shivani also joins us with more details. What a sensational win this has been and what a journey for Manu Bhaker. Most certainly has been, one of the big hopefuls this Olympics for India. She's coming back with the bronze, Shivani.
Yes, that's, a big turnaround for her because last time around Manu Bhaker had participated in multiple events as she's doing this time as well. And she couldn't quite perform to her potential last time around. In fact, it wasn't just her, but she was headlining, the shooting contingent in Tokyo. And there are always a lot of hopes from the shooting contingent for India because shooters have bagged medals from us, for us, starting with Rajyavardhan Singh Rathore in 2004 in trap shooting. But last time around, shooters didn't win a single medal. We had a great haul of 7 medals last time, but shooters didn't feature in it. And Manu Bhaker is a unique athlete for us because she competes in as many as 3 events at the Olympics. So actually last time around and this time around too, she had the distinction or the possibility to win multiple medals, which no one from India has done in a single edition. So, she would be more relieved than anybody else. I do know that her family has been with her all through the last 3 years. when she was struggling after last Olympics, there were a lot of question marks on her conduct, on her mental fitness, and then there was this huge controversy with the then coach Jaspal Rana. So a lot was going on, and I remember speaking to her and speaking to Jaspal Rana both at that time. And Manu kind of maintained her focus, her dignity. Her family has been with her consistently. She's been performing very well, as she always does in the run-up to these Olympics as well. And now it's not a surprise that she has bagged, India's first medal in the 10-meter air pistol. She's won a bronze. I'm not sure if she would be 100% happy with that. I think she would have liked to change the color of her medal. But yes, this is now the opening medal for India. She has also broken the medal deadlock that Indian shooting was witnessing since 2012. So it's taken, more than 10 years for us to win another medal in shooting.
Yes, more than 10 years. The last was in 2012, and that's why there was so much hope from the shooting contingent this time around. And there are many firsts to this victory, really, Shivani. This performance makes her the first Indian female shooter to in fact reach an individual Olympic final in 20 years. So she's not just bringing back a bronze, but there's so much more that she's managed to achieve with this feat. And we've been speaking of the sensational performance that the Indian shooters have managed to put up in several international tournaments. Talk about the World Championship, University Championship, Asian Games. They put up a stellar performance in 2023, in the beginning of 2024 as well. And that's why there were so many questions being asked on what really happens in Olympics. Tokyo was a big disappointment, and so all of them were seeking redemption, but the first one coming in from Manu Bhaker, really.
Yes, absolutely. You talked about the distinction that Manu Bhaker has earned because, you've had male shooters win medals for us in 2012. You, of course, had,
Welcome back. It's time to now take you through stories from India and across the globe. Let's start with a bit of Indian innovation coming in from the Paris Olympics. Now, the first day of shooting competition at the Paris 2024 Olympics saw China win gold in the 10-meter rifle mixed team event with a hidden Indian success story. No Indian shooter made it to that round, but the gold-winning Chinese team wore jackets from India's Kapapai, a company founded by Nilesh Rane. Kapapai's high-tech jackets, worn by about 90% of Olympic rifle shooters, have become a game changer in the sport.
And something slightly different. A new study reveals how there's been a decline in Indian vultures, and it's led to 500,000 human deaths. We'll just talk a little bit about it, but India's vultures began dying because of a drug used to treat sick cows. The loss of these natural scavengers has allowed deadly bacteria to proliferate. That's the relation between the two. It's highlighting the critical role that vultures play in maintaining public health.
Meanwhile, locals are celebrating the arrival of rain with a sweet gesture towards donkeys in Madhya Pradesh. The residents are offering gulab jamuns, believe it or not, to donkeys as part of their festivities. Locals there believe that the ritual involves donkeys ploughing and salt sowing can bring in rain. With heavy downpours now blessing the area, the community joyfully shared these treats.
OpenAI is challenging Google with Search GPT, an AI-powered search engine in early testing phases. Search GPT integrates AI technology and real-time web information, promising conversational search queries very similar to what you already have in ChatGPT. This move will position OpenAI against Google and Microsoft's Bing. It's aiming to revolutionize search with up-to-date answers and clear sources.
Scientists have discovered that Komodo dragons possess eye-tipped teeth, enhancing their predatory prowess. The iron concentration found in their serrated Orenstein teeth keeps them razor sharp, crucial for tearing through meat. The study, published in the Nature, Ecology and Evolution, reveals surprising adaptation in these deadly lizards, native to Indonesia and weighing up to 176 pounds.
And Chinese scientists are saying they've discovered water molecules in lunar soil brought back by Chang'e 5's mission. Now, Chinese scientists are saying they found a hydrated mineral that's enriched with molecular water. They published their findings in Nature Astronomy. They're saying this finding builds on other detections of water on the moon by missions from India and NASA.
A new study published in Nature Medicine suggests that getting vaccinated against shingles may help you delay the onset of dementia. Researchers found that those who receive the new shingles vaccine has an average of 164 extra days free from dementia diagnosis over 6 years compared to those with older vaccine. The benefits were greater for women. This finding could have significant public health implications.
NASA has successfully streamed 4K videos from an aircraft to the International Space Station and back using laser technology. This potentially revolutionizes data transmission in future space missions, and it's an advancement that could enable live HD video coverage of astronauts during different missions to the moon, enhancing crew health obviously, but also the ability for all to coordinate.
Japan is captivated by a trio of elderly men dubbed as the Grandpa Gang. A video has sort of come out that has been charged with several, where you see 3 men, 188, 170, 169, charged with series of bulgaries of the northern island of Hokkaido. The G3S gang, as they are humorously called by the police, met in prison, allegedly formed their criminal enterprise upon release. Now, their crimes include breaking into unoccupied homes, stealing modest sums and valuable jewelry, turning them into a viral sensation due to their unexpected criminal profiles and mostly their age.
Today we are celebrating the groundbreaking achievements of many young women who are rewriting the history in the world of sports. Our next guest is a very special one. She's a young 9-year-old racing sensation from Kashmir. She created history at the famous prestigious Le Mans Kart International Circuit by becoming the first female racer in the world to win a race in the Rotax Challenge International Trophy. That's footage of her on your screens.
Now, a win at the Le Mans has further sort of cemented Atika's position as the best female karting driver in the world in her age group. Her achievement paves the way for future generations of female racers as well and showcases the power of breaking barriers in traditionally male-dominated fields, and doing that just at the age of 9. So enough talking about her. Let's hear from her. Let's welcome Atika Mir on the program.
Atika, congratulations. It's so lovely to speak to you. I believe you're joining us from Milan right now. Just tell us a little bit. You've had this huge achievement. Now, we do have some audiences that may not understand the world of racing entirely. So just tell us a little bit about the achievement. Again, congratulations. How do you feel?
So, it was held at France at Le Mans. So it feels like it's only a 1-year event, so it only happens once a year. So I'm really proud to be a heat winner of it, and like even any win is the best feeling for me. But this one is even better because first of all, it only comes once a year, and the best drivers of the world and in micro category were here to do the event.
I see. Atika, can I just say, I find racing fairly scary at 9. How are you sort of coping up with it? Racing on those tracks with that razor sharp speed. What has been your outlook on that?
First of all the races are really long. It's like at least there's more than 5 laps everywhere I go around the world. So I mean, 5 laps is not a lot, but it's the final. So the final is like really long. It's at least above 10 laps in any country I go. So I have like a lot of time to sort things out. So, but I mostly do it really quickly, and I think that I have to keep going for my for my team and my country, and I think about it a lot when I'm driving. So I kind of think like I have to support India and try to do my best.
Atika, you're 9 and we keep highlighting that. But just tell us, when did you then decide that you wanted to do this? Often 9, 10, 11, 12 is when people are making their career decisions for the first time. When did you decide?
Like I first I used to drive in the, like malls and stuff, the electrical cars. I used to drive that, which is not really professional, not at all. So I just drove it for fun, and I went every day. And every day I used to beat my lap time. I did. So I did really well in that. And then I went to indoor kardrome. It's another version of a track, which is my home track in Dubai. So it's an indoor version of it for little kids. So I went for it, and I was really good. And my father gave me a lap time to beat, and I beat it. So then he put me in a championship. I did all these things when I was 5 years old.
Wow. All these things when you were just 5, but perhaps not surprising because you pretty much have it in your blood, don't you? Your dad is a racing legend himself. What is it like training with him? Is it pressure or is it good fortune?
My dad is really strict, and sometimes, like most of the time, they give me goals to do, and I most of the time always achieve it. But sometimes when I don't, he gets really mad, and then he sometimes doesn't talk to me. But otherwise, I have a lot of fun when I'm karting, and I really enjoy it. And I'm not most of the time really struggling because of my pace. It's really good. I most of the time struggle with my racing, but I'm getting better at it.
Love your honesty. Tell us, Atika, you want to be the world's first female F1 driver in the last few decades. That's something you've said a few times in a few different interviews. Who's your favorite current F1 driver?
I look up to Max Verstappen and many other drivers on the F1 grid, like Oscar Piastri, George Russell, Lando Norris. But Max Verstappen is like my idol. Like I really like what he does in the races. He's really fast, and he just gets away on the start, and he at least makes a 5-second gap.
Nice. Nice. And in how much time, Atika, do you think you'll make it to F1? Just a prediction. What goal have you set for yourself?
Not really, but I want to try and be like a very young female driver in Formula One. So just to make the record look very nice, and I want to try and I want to try to do it. Because not many female can do it. I mean, they have done it, but they used to finish like last and all that stuff. But I want to be like the professional one who finishes first and the podium all the time.
Okay, Atika, anytime we talk to young sports people, we like to ask them, what do you like to do for fun? Because, it sounds like it's just practice, practice and more practice. So what do you like to do?
I do have extra time, but in that time, I mostly like do simulator work and driving simulator. That's also related to karting, and I also do fitness a lot, at least 1 hour a day. I go to the gym all the time with my dad, and I learn many different workouts over there. And then I have a lot of fun as well, and I also get a lot of strength.
All right, but what about cheat meals? You sound like you have a dad who's constantly a coach, so he's not just with you on the circuit in the gym, but he's also home. Is that allowed?
McDonald's is like my ultimate favorite. Like if I see it, I just wanna like go and eat it, but I can't.
Okay, let's just ask you, Atika, before we let you go, other young sports people, sports women in particular who might be watching, who might have dreams at the age of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, what's your advice to them?
I want all the girls from around the world, I mean, and in India, of course, and if you're watching from all around the world, you can do anything you want if you have the passion, determination, and the will, and you know, like the skill to do it. So, and even if you don't have the skill, you can just go in years of the sport you're doing, and then you'll eventually learn your skill.
All right then. Thank you so much, Atika, for joining us and sharing your story with us, and good luck with everything that you do next. Waiting to have a female Formula 1 driver, and wouldn't that be just absolutely lovely, Toya, to have one in from India? But you know, what we should do, we should be actually interviewing the father to understand what it takes to get a child like that. I think that's the part 2 of this interview that we need to do.
We'll do it, we'll go get it. But so lovely to hear passion, determination. What a lovely, inspiring start for all of us also right here. Okay, next we're bringing you a special section on financial markets powered by Money Control Pro, Money Control's premium destination for investing and business insights. Let's take a look. First, markets. GIFT Nifty trends indicating a positive start in the Indian equity indices. US stock indices gaining as inflation data strengthened hopes of a rate cut by the Fed. Asian shares gained ahead of decisions by key central banks scheduled to happen this week. Crude oil prices climb on fresh worries over escalation of Middle East continuing conflict there.
All right, let's look at sectors next then. In the cement industry, convenient access to raw materials and to end user markets are equally important. In recent years, the industry has been sort of witnessing consolidation driven by acquisitions being made by larger players. The main question is, will this trend of consolidation bring back the industry's pricing power, or is it different this time around? Well, log on to Money Control Pro for more about the cement industry and various other actionable insights on the markets. It is your premium destination for all the investing views and financial insights you will ever need, brought to you by Money Control. All right, with that, it's a close on today's program. We covered quite a bit, didn't we, Toya? From Olympics to what's happening in the world of go-karting to how to stay away from flus and viruses this season.
Lots of strong women, Manu Bhaker, Simone Biles, and right now Atika Mir. A good taste, a good start to your Monday. Have a lovely week. We'll see you tomorrow.
My dad has won a medal.
माई भाई, मैंने भी इस बार SIP करके म्यूचुअल फंड में पैसे डाल। तो मुझे ये जानना था कि KYC का चक्कर क्या है?
म्यूचुअल फंड सही है .com या अपने म्यूचुअल फंड की वेबसाइट पे जाओ, पैन नंबर डालो और सिर्फ इतना देखो कि तुम्हारा KYC स्टेटस रजिस्टर्ड है या वैलिडेटेड।
रजिस्टर्ड हो तो
आधार और पैन कार्ड के साथ अपना KYC वैलिडेट करो, जरूरी है और ज्यादा वक्त भी नहीं लगता।
और वैलिडेटेड हो तो
सही है।
सही है माई भाई, अब तक इन्वेस्ट किया ना हो तो
KYC कर लो और मैदान में उतरो।
सही है।
म्यूचुअल फंड निवेश बाजार जोखिमों के अधीन है। योजना से जुड़े सभी दस्तावेजों को ध्यान से पढ़ें।
Hello and a very warm welcome. Thanks for tuning in to CNN News 18. I'm Kritsween Walia. In this edition of news, we start with some excellent news coming in
from Paris. Yes, we're talking about Olympics 2024 and great news for India as Manu Bhaker has won bronze for the country. This is the latest bit of breaking news update coming in. Manu Bhaker is all set to bring back home a bronze medal after a sensational performance in the finals. Remember, she was qualified to the medals round today and just a few seconds ago, she's managed to clinch a bronze for the country. The big breaking news coming in at the